It's a short testimony. Just a short testimony. Just because Joe on my messenger said something and I sort of got led to talk about this. So, countdown. Yep. So the day I went into town in Dunedin and Yellow got sick, I did something different with him. I got him a jacket because I shaved him for hot weather and it's too cold. She said, come in to try it, and I nearly walked away with the wrong size. So I took him on the lead to the vet clinic, which was also a shop, and I tried on one jacket that was supposed to be for Shih Tzus. It was too small. Tried on another. And the other two dogs were in the car, and I'd stopped there to go walk to the supermarket. It was New World. Well, I went to the New World, got some cigarettes, and then I went across the road to an op shop. I got the, what do you call it? Damn. It's like a thermal. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten. I got what I wanted and needed, second-hand for $10. Wardrobe organiser. I tied him outside there. And anyway, then I'll remember soon what it was. And then we got in the car. That's New World. We have a supermarket called New World. The Lord's already told me. It's a play on words. New World. Can you hear it? Now we have another supermarket chain. It's called Countdown. Right? Play on words. Count down. 4, 3, 2, 1, let's say. This is it before the fire. Countdown. It's got a nice looking apple on it. Well, they have, and because later on I went to Animates, took Teddy into there. The dogs didn't get out again until I went to the cemetery where my mother and brother are. But I got out and went to Countdown and bought some lunch. I was going through the cashier and I had some ibuprofen, and she said, you know, you have to go back to the chemist part and pay for that. Now the Countdown that I was in was the actual Countdown where a man wielded a knife. He wielded a knife and he stabbed people, and everyone went to that chemist to hide. And the eyewitness statements were there were people hiding in the chemist. It was just a tiny little place in the middle of the Countdown. On the ground, because the man was slashing like a madman. And it goes back to the dream that I had about Jeff Briley. Jeff Briley, no one gave you permission to renovate the church. I saw you in a dream. I witnessed you renovating the church. I thought you were allowed to. It was a one up, one down. The front of the church was open, or the front of the building was stripped open, like upstairs, downstairs. There were two young men approached, and I was just looking at you. In front of you were some boxes with a sharp box cutter, because you were packing. The two boys approached you. They were young men, just like Elisha went up the mountain. There were 32 children, and they were teasing Elisha, saying, "Baldy, baldy," and he called a curse, and out came the two she-bears, and they tore them to shreds. Well, I interpreted the dream as, I'm all on Jeff's side, and then the Lord told me no. It was the two boys, because the two boys challenged Jeff and said, "Who said you could renovate this church?" They were bald. They were not naturally bald. I don't know. They were bald, but they were young. And I just said nothing, and I was like witnessing this. Next thing, before I knew it, one of them grabbed the box cutter and slashed. Quickly his hand darted forward like that, and he stuck it right in Jim Briley's neck. Jeff Briley's neck. And then they ran off. I was standing there. I was the first responder, the only one there. I knew his wife was in the kitchen, but the door was closed. I grabbed the first thing I could find, which was a tea towel, and I jammed it on his neck and tried to stop the bleeding, and before I knew it was full of blood. And then his wife came and I woke up. Well, here I am now in Countdown, where they've had an incident. It's the second terrorist incident. It was perpetrated by a white man who was a vagabond in Dunedin. They described him as a vagabond. I don't know very much what the outcome was, but I believe, and I should look up the number now of how many people ended up in hospital over this, and whether anyone died. But I just got as far as, when I heard that, knowing it was God, because of the tea towel. Why did I know? Because when he stabbed someone in the aisles, the testimony is, how the media will interview eyewitnesses. Well, he was apparently going up the aisle saying, well, you know what they say? Alak Bak, or whatever they say when they're doing it for Mohammed. That he was yelling that. So not really much of a vagabond. They downplayed that. He was yelling that. Not just a vagabond, was he? Anyway, I've never been to that Countdown. I've just heard the news. But I also know there was a man bleeding to death, basically, from the neck. People grabbed, because I know how close the cashier was to this chemist. I didn't think about it at the time. I'm thinking about it now. It's testimony. They grabbed bags, supermarket bags, which are green and yellow. See the colour? And they were jamming them all over his back and neck, trying to take direct pressure. Well, the other eyewitness testimony was down an aisle, and they grabbed new towels, tea towels, and jammed that on a wound in the neck to stop the bleeding. And that's when I knew this is my dream as well, confirming my dream. Well, I just want to tell you, I was just playing a wee game, because I play these games with people, because I want people to actually, for God's sake, will you ask God? So, and stop asking people and trusting in people. He said, trust only God. Don't trust man. Like he said that to me, only trust me. So I only trust God. I'm not asking any people anything. So as much as it's nice to ask me for wisdom or anything, don't. Because I'm not responsible for you. You're responsible for yourself and your own relationship with the Holy Spirit. You don't know him and you can't ask him, you can't hear him, you're in a hell of a lot of trouble. And I'm doing this out of love. So anyway, I just said to Joe, well, thing is, I really hate them, because when I was at that Countdown, I got my ibuprofen, and then I went through the cashier. I remember her saying to me, she said, are you collecting these farm animals, the Lego animals? Well, they're for kids. I haven't got any kids. So I said, I looked her in the eye and I said, no. And she said, you know, you can't pay for those ibuprofen here. You've got to go back to the pharmacy. So I literally put everything through, walked to the pharmacy, paid for them, and then came back and got my groceries and walked away. I think I'd paid for my groceries and then went back and paid for these ibuprofen. Well, I didn't know. I said I didn't collect farm animals. Well, at some stage during that day, I looked in my bag. She'd put one in, even though I'd instructed her I didn't want them. You know, to me it's a waste of packaging. It's a waste of money. If I'm not a kid all excited about it, no one, absolutely no one I know with kids to give it to, why would I take it? So it's in my bag and I'm like annoyed, and I open it and I just said to Joe, what do you think's in it? So whether she has prayed and asked the Lord, I said, it's an animal. What do you think they put in it? It's a goat. They're motherfuckers. Do you understand? They are motherfuckers. Now, it's serious. It's getting serious here now. Click's testimony is when he's with his daughter. He's at a restaurant. When he's at the ice cream shop, which is in his testimony, with his kids, and they're young. He called the lady back to him. He said, why have you put a sheet on my daughter's meal? He served it. She served this thing up, and it looks like a sheet with its tongue sticking out. Well, I never asked for this. If I'd seen it, I would have said, why did you give me this Lego when I clearly said I didn't want it? Well, they probably don't know what they're doing, but that doesn't stop them being motherfuckers, because we're addressing Satan, aren't we? And they're obviously chosen to not be turned up. You're choosing. You do it, if you forfeit, you forfeit. If you're not for him, you're against him. If you've got one turned down angel, this sort of crap that you get from that angel, and they're attacking God's angels, the ones that are double up, that are going home. So you're our enemy, one up, one down. You're doing it all the fucking time. Not to mention the double downs, which are far worse. I would say it was a double down in Click's most recent testimony, when he asked for a coffee at the hotel, disappeared when the coffee machine was right in front of him, to make the coffee out the back. It's getting serious now. Why did everyone disappear in Click's testimony? There's no one behind the reception anymore making his coffee. The man said, can I help you? And she said, well, I ordered a coffee. And then he said, oh, she's out in the kitchen or out somewhere else making it. And he could see the coffee machine clearly. Well, he took the coffee, and then what the Holy Spirit said to him, don't drink it. You've seen what they've shown on the movies where there's poison. You've watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, have you not? One side of the apple's poison, the other's not. You've seen all that. You've seen their bloody fairy tales. Well, it's getting serious now, so you ain't got the Holy Spirit. You go drink the wrong thing and you're not listening to God, you haven't got wisdom and you're not hearing his voice, that's the end of you. You may not be one up, one down. You may not be two up, and you won't go home. You don't want to die in that state now, do you? Now, motherfuckers, I am not a goat. God is sorting the goats and the sheep. How's that? You messed about, I caught you out, how's that? Now that I've found where you're at, it's goodbye. Well, how's that? So don't have sympathy for them. This is the end. It's the end of the world as we know it. And in heaven they celebrate. So you need to learn to celebrate. And if you're not going to be found in faith. You're going to be an anxious, nervous, fearful mess. You're going to be running. Your heart will fail you for what's coming upon the earth. And we will be here to see a bit of it. I guarantee it. I go with what Eric says.